Hello. I'm just going to talk some more about the fact that there is no inner language. And I don't know if you've heard more of my videos, and if you do, you may be saying like, wow, isn't he beating a dead horse? No, I am actually showing you that you have been conditioned, and the only way in which you are going to do something else is if there is this process which I call deconditioning. Deconditioning, which means stopping this falsehood that comes with your disembodied language. The biggest falsehood of disembodied language is that you have inner language. And your disembodied language is the way of speaking in which you don't listen to yourself. And you engage in disembodied language every day without even realizing it. And that's why you continue with your deeply problematic belief, in inner language. So I'm talking about deconditioning, stopping this barking dog. Yes, stopping this false notion of inner language. Yeah, you may still hear it in the distance, but there is no inner language. There exists no language inside the human body. This is a fact, a scientific fact. And yet you talk in a way as if you are having an inner conversation with yourself, which is just not true. So it needs to be addressed again and again, so that this process of stopping this belief, stopping your belief in inner language, will actually stop your disembodied language. Yeah? So once you accept that there is no inner language, once you just accept it, yeah? Accept that these sentences that I'm speaking, these words that I'm using, there are no words inside of you. There are no sentences inside of you. It just does not exist. That's not how language works. So when you just accept that, when you just reasonably understand that your brain, there's millions of neurons in your brain, and these neurons are firing and wiring together. And these neurons have, of course, been doing so as long as you have been alive. And so good morning. So as long as you have lived, your brain has been working in a particular way. And these neurons, they have been firing and wiring together. And so on a neuronal level, there is stuff going on in your brain due to which you believe that inner language exists. But if you just follow my reasoning, just like people once began to follow the reason that the earth is not flat and diseases were not created by evil spirits, and the earth is not the center of the universe, no, You just accept. Just accept that there is no inner language. Accept it. You cannot refute it. You cannot refute that your brain only has these neurons, only has these neurotransmitters. There are no words to be found anywhere in your brain. You should know this. You should accept this. That's the truth of your neurobiology. There's no language inside your chest. You don't speak from your heart. There's nothing inside of you which is expressed outward. That's not how language works. So when I am addressing the issue, the falsehood of your disembodied language, morning, that there is no inner language, this is a process of deconditioning. Deconditioning meaning you stop the falsehood, you stop this belief. You say it is not true. And ideally speaking, of course, you are going to say this to yourself out loud, and you're going to hear yourself say this. You're going to say it in such a way to yourself that you hear yourself say, yeah, I am expressing my so-called thoughts. I'm expressing my so-called inner language. But of course, I'm just expressing myself. I'm just hearing what I'm saying because I'm producing a sound. And there cannot be a sound inside of me because, yeah, that's just a way of speaking. There's no inner voice to be listened to. There's no sound. So when you say that out loud, you would do your part, your necessary part, yeah, because it is necessary. If you don't do it, you're not gonna have this deconditioning. But if you would do that, then you would decondition yourself from engaging in disembodied language all the time. You would decondition yourself, you would alter actually the workings of your brain because you are beginning to listen to yourself. In disembodied language, you were not listening to yourself. And in embodied language, you are listening to yourself. Like I am. Yeah. And so, stopping your disembodied language is absolutely necessary for you to have embodied language. You can only begin to have embodied language after you have stopped your disembodied language. Yeah? So, once you have stopped your disembodied language, yeah? So once this deconditioning process has proceeded, has occurred, you will effortlessly, without any practice, without any problem, produce your embodied language. It happens naturally. You listen to yourself now. It happens naturally. You speak, and so there is sound, and you can hear that sound. And if you are doing this, then you can begin to recognize, like, wow, I can of course go on with my embodied language. Yeah, of course you can. You can continue with your embodied language, like I do. And your ongoing embodied language will set in motion this process of reconditioning. Yeah? Initially, you'll only have a few moments of embodied language. Yeah, you will only be able to listen to yourself for a little bit. Enjoy it. Yeah. You're stunned. You're amazed that you can actually listen to yourself so effortlessly and so immediately. And then, yeah, it's gone again. Yeah, it's gone again. Because your conditioning history with disembodied language takes over again. This is bound to happen. It cannot be otherwise. You were conditioned to not listen to yourself. You were conditioned to listen to others. You were conditioned to make others listen to you. Yeah? But you were never conditioned. Of course, and it's not you who was conditioned. It is the behavior which is conditioned. But okay, your behavior, the listening to yourself behavior was never reinforced. And that's why it's not occurring. And disembodied language is happening everywhere 24/7 because that's the behavior we reinforce. And so disembodied language, in which we do not listen to ourselves and in which we imagine that there's inner language, determines the hierarchy in every society around the world, regardless of whether this is a so-called democratic society, a free society, or some sort of autocratic society where you have brutal rulers, brutal oppressors, brutal criminals who exploit the people, or who are forcing people to be a certain way. But in every society, disembodied language is the way in which people communicate. Which means some people are more important than others. Some speakers, may do more talking than others. And therefore they are the authority, they are the ones in charge, they are the ones in power. Yeah. And so this is the history of mankind. There has never been a society, there's never been a community where people were having embodied language, because the difference between disembodied language and embodied language has never been made. I am the first and only one who is doing that. And that is another thing. Yeah, I'm not asking you to believe me. As a matter of fact, you can just do whatever you want. Don't believe me, that's fine. I know what I know. And I know 66 years of living has told me so, has revealed to me that there's nobody else saying what I'm saying. There's nobody else vehemently addressing this issue as I do. So that in and of itself sets the stage for me to be very, very, very emphatic about this. Yeah? So I'm talking about deconditioning, stopping your disembodied language, and I'm talking about reconditioning and starting to have embodied language in which you listen to yourself. And yes, make it clear, you can only have embodied language if this belief in inner language is completely gone. Yeah? And similarly, you cannot be scientific as long as you have, I don't know, all kind of religious beliefs. Has nothing to do with it. Yeah? So, people have believed in this inner voice, but it's just like schizophrenics who believe they're hearing voices. Yeah, supposedly healthy people, they believe in hearing a voice, in having an inner voice. It's just total nonsense. We've never figured this out. And we also are incapable of actually really helping anybody with what we call mental health problems. Yeah, psychology is a complete hoax. All of psychology is a complete hoax because it is based on the false notion that we have inner language. It needs to be said emphatically, repeatedly. It's a disaster that we all believe in inner language, which then also, of course, just like all our other beliefs, which are presumably so important, and which all, in one way or another, refer to the same falsehood of inner language, it distracts from the overt nature of language. We can never fully pay attention to language as it is because of our false beliefs. And this is why there are so many problems in this world. If we would pay total attention to language alone, to speaking and listening, writing and reading, we would stop our disembodied language in spite of our conditioning history. We would have embodied language and begin to realize, like, wow, everybody everywhere around the world has adhered to disembodied language until now. And we are fortunate to be at the forefront of this new era, of this new understanding, of this new ability to stop our disembodied language and to have embodied language. As I've said, in spite of our conditioning history, because it will continue to come up, yeah, our disembodied language will rear its end again, but we will not be bothered by it anymore the way we have been bothered by it in the past, because the belief that we've had in the inner language is gone. And once you demystify that belief, all these weird constructs that we have been carrying around with, all these ridiculous assumptions about ourselves and about each other, about the world, that we have been going on with, all these superstitions, they all lose their glamour. And so our religions will be debunked, our politics will be debunked, our anti-scientific nonsense will be debunked, our psychological mumbo-jumbo will be debunked, because we have embodied language, yeah. And because we do not have inner language, yeah. So, I want to go back again to my initial point, that my repeated insistence on addressing this issue, that there is no inner language, it deals with deconditioning, stopping your disembodied language. Even while you listen to this video, there is no inner language. You could already begin to say it. Just mumble it a little bit. Just say it like this. Yeah, he's right. There is no inner language. You could just say that. That would be a start. Yeah. There is no inner language. No, he's right. And it's not that he's right. You are right when you are saying it. It's really true. It's not that you're trying to prove a point to yourself. No, you're saying a truth. Yeah? So I am addressing this to bring about that process of deconditioning. Yes, I'm doing that all single-handedly, all by myself, while riding my bicycle here in Chico, California. Yeah. And I am affecting you. Yes, 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 that too. I'm affecting you. Wherever you are, you're listening to this. And you hear what I'm saying. And you know I'm not lying. And you know that it is true for me as well as for you. That there is no inner language. Yeah. So, deconditioning is happening as I speak. It may only be a little bit. It may only go so far. And you may only be able to have some embodied language for just a little while. But you're going to understand, you're going to recognize that it's possible for you, for everybody, to listen to yourself while you speak, to have embodied language instead of disembodied language. And my emphasis on this is bringing about that process of reconditioning. I support you. I invite you. I challenge you. I let you know, I inform you. I stimulate you to have embodied language. Yes, I really do that. And then, this is the goal. This is the goal of this video. I have a goal. Yes, I have a particular plan. This is my plan. And your plan I don't care about. I care about my plan. And I believe you should care about my plan. You should forget about your plans. Your plans are based on disembodied language. My plan is based on embodied language. So what is my plan? My plan is that you take me serious. My plan is that you begin to verify for yourself what it is like to talk out loud with yourself in 2025. You are going to listen to this and you're going to say to yourself, he is right. I am right. I can listen to myself. Yes, you can. And you not only can listen to yourself, you are listening to yourself. How about that? How about saying to yourself that you are listening to yourself? That you no longer engage in disembodied language. Isn't that great? You've stopped engaging in disembodied language. Can you say that to yourself? What would you can even suggest to yourself, what would happen if I stopped having disembodied language? What would happen? You can ask yourself that. And yes, you can blame me for putting words in your mouth and for making you ask yourself that question. Yeah? I mean, if I'm not asking you that question, who's going to ask you that question? Nobody is. So, nobody is asking you to tell yourself about the difference between listening to yourself while you speak and not listening to yourself while you speak. Haven't you had enough of your disembodied language? Couldn't you just say to yourself that you are somewhat capable of understanding that not listening to yourself is probably not the best thing for you? Can you not just say that? Agree with me? And then take it from there? Yeah. Yeah, so you sort of kind of experimentally accept my hypothesis, so to speak. Yeah. You haven't been listening to yourself. Of course you haven't. And what happens if you begin to listen to yourself? What happens if you begin to speak with yourself in such a way that you want to listen to yourself, that you like to listen to yourself, that you produce that sound which you want to hear, that sound which you seem to be deaf for? Yeah, that is a strange observation. Yeah, it is a very strange observation to recognize that the sound of your own well-being, the sound of your happiness, the sound that you like to hear, that you're not producing that sound. And that when you listen to yourself while you speak, you realize, oh my gosh, I keep making a sound which I myself don't like to hear. You know, there is this thing about people who hear their voice recorded, on a voice recording. They have this sense of alienation from their own sound. They don't like to hear their own recorded voice. And people always assume that it has something to do with the fact that there is, the way in which we perceive sound, and of course when you hear yourself from an electronic device, of course there's a difference in how you sound, but that is not really the reason why you do not like to listen to your own recorded sound. The real reason why you don't like to hear your own recorded sound is, and why people it is so common for people to not like their recorded sound. The real reason for that is that we all of a sudden begin to somewhat recognize that we are engaging against our will, unknowingly, in disembodied language. Yes? You don't want to have disembodied language, and yet you engage in it all the time. Once you begin to listen to yourself while you speak, you realize that you speak with a sound which you don't like. And you're used to it. You keep having a sound, a way of speaking. Hey speaker, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. You keep having a sound which you don't like. You keep producing a sound which is acted. A sound which, you're trying to sound smart. You're trying to sound in control. You're trying to sound strong. You're trying to sound interested or polite. You're trying to sound in one way or another, a certain way. But in embodied language, you're not acting your sound. You sound the way you sound because you're real with yourself. And so listening to yourself is the way to be real with yourself. What up? Oh. There was a dog running over the road. So, isn't that interesting? That, our recorded voice, if you're gonna do what I'm asking you to do, in 2025, let's say you're gonna hold your phone in front of you just like I am right now, and you're gonna talk with yourself out loud, and you're gonna verify what I've said. You're really gonna do it. You're gonna record your own sound, and you're gonna let yourself know what is he talking about? What is this disembodied language in which I do not listen to myself while I speak? Is that what is happening? Am I doing that? Is that true? And then you make your own discovery, okay? You realize, like, okay, I get carried away by what I say again and again. I wasn't listening to myself when I was getting carried away by what I was saying. I was just being pompous. I was just being I was just being an asshole. I was just too convinced, too fanatic, too involved in my own theory of how it all is. Yeah. And so every time you get carried away by what you say, you're not listening to yourself. So, okay, you go back again to your sound. You begin to listen to your sound. And you say, oh my gosh, I don't even like that voice that I'm having. That voice that sounds so demanding. That voice that sounds so pretentious. It is that voice that I don't like to hear. Is that me? It's horrible. Yeah, I'm sounding forceful. I'm sounding unnatural. I'm sounding like I don't even believe myself. Okay. All right. Well, how do you sound when you do believe yourself then? How do you sound when you are not pretending? How do you sound when you are not stressed, when you're not frustrated, when you're not angry, when you're not revengeful? How do you sound? Yeah? Okay. So now you're making a recording with your phone like I do. You're making a recording 2025. You're doing what I'm asking you to do. You're verifying if it is true that there is no inner language. That language is always overt. Language is always spoken and heard. Yeah? This language that I'm telling you about, I'm saying it, you hear it. It's not inside of me. And if you read what I've written, yeah, you can read it on my X account. I will post it underneath this video. Then you can see with your eyes what I've written. It's observable language. It is not inside of you. Language is overt, not covert. All right. So you're making this recording of yourself, and you are trying to sort of just explore, what is this thing? Embodied language? Can I have embodied language with myself? Just like that? And then you begin to like your own sound. You suddenly feel, wow, I'm hearing myself. Yeah, of course. This is what I want to do. This is how I want to sound. This is how I want to speak. And you now are making a recording of your own embodied language. You have the proof in your hand. Yeah? You have the proof in your hand. Just like I'm holding this phone in my hand. I have recorded my own disembodied language. Yeah, there was that moment when I was getting carried away. There was this moment when I was all getting conflicted and troubled, and where I was expressing all my frustration and all my worries, all my stress. And then at some point I began to listen again. The conflict was clarified. I was saying something which helped me to overcome my my own trouble. And all of a sudden I sounded better again. I sounded more relaxed. I sounded calmer. I sounded at ease. I sounded relieved. I sounded like someone who is reasonable, someone who is in control of himself, someone who is understanding what he or she is saying. Yeah. You sound like someone who has embodied language. Yeah. And yeah, there is no inner language, okay? You have accepted that, and you can repeat that to yourself as often as you need to continue with your embodied language. Because you want to continue with your embodied language, don't you? Once you know the difference between your disembodied language and your embodied language, it's not that I'm telling you to have embodied language. No, once you know the difference, you're telling yourself that you want to have embodied language. How could you not? Your disembodied language contains all your problems, all your frustrations, all your struggles. And your embodied language allows you to come out of it. Your embodied language, if you can go on with it, is your language enlightenment. Yeah. Yes. So, it's funny, today I do something very different than what I usually do. I have been here before at this wonderful place. Yeah. I like it here. But today I came from the other side. I'm going to sit on my bench here. And then, ooh, look, big bird. Then I'm gonna conclude the video. So in 2025, you are going to make maybe multiple recordings of yourself in which you, just like I do right now, in which you simply record the difference between your disembodied language and your embodied language. Yeah. And that will make everything clear. Yeah? Yeah? That will make everything clear. There's nothing else that is needed. You don't need me, you don't need anybody else. You just need yourself. To tell yourself what is the difference between your disembodied language and your embodied language. Yeah, and then, yeah, because that's my plan, okay? Oh, you remember? I was telling you about my plan. My plan is that you're going to do that. And I'm stimulating you to do that. And then in 2026, we will have embodied language together. Yeah. And then we will all agree that there never was any inner language. There never was any mind. You never had any thoughts. You only had overt language. And yeah, you have believed in covert language. You have believed in the illusion of the mind. But once you have verified for yourself the difference between your embodied language and your disembodied language, once you have your own evidence, once you have, you can listen to it again, your own video. You don't need to listen to my video. You can listen to your own video and you can say, oh, wow, that's when I was having my embodied language, yes. And how wonderful that is, yeah. How blissful that is. And how totally different that is from anything you have ever said. So yeah, 2026, that is when we hopefully will have the conversation with each other in which we all have embodied language. And I will continue to address this on my videos so that you can begin to make your videos, and that finally then in 2026 we can come together and have embodied language together, celebrate our language enlightenment together. Yeah.